Hey, algebra students. I hope everyone's having a great week. Let's go ahead and try to meet on Friday of this week. I'll make sure I put it in Canvas, the link and the time, just so I can see your sweet faces and see how everyone's doing. But let's look at these problems for now. Hopefully you were able to print them off and you can do them with me. And in fact, do them ahead of me. That would be even better. So I think a lot of you are going to enjoy factoring polynomials after you get a hang of it, all right? So let's look at these first two terms, or the first problem, which has two terms, 4x and 8. So just like if you're simplifying a fraction, you want to divide each number by the greatest common factor. Well, that's what we're doing here as well. We want to divide 4x and 8 by their greatest common factor, which is a 4. So if we take that first term, if we divide 4x by 4, we get x, 1x, and then positive 8 divided by 4 is 2. So now we want to make sure that these two expressions are equivalent, and the way we would check our answer is using the distributive property. So 4 times x is 4x, and 4 times 2 is 8. So since they're still equivalent, we know that our answer is correct. All right, so our final answer is 4 times x plus 2. When you're done, you want to make sure everything in parentheses have no common factors. So let's look at the second one. What can we divide these two terms by? We can divide them both by 5. So 5x divided by 5 is x. 45 divided by 5 is 9. If we use the distributive property, we would get what we started with. So we know our answer is correct. All right, you guys try the next two problems. Pause me and then come back and check your answers. On the third one, hopefully you pulled out a 3, so you would have had x minus 6. And then on this one, you should have pulled out a 6. So 12x divided by 6 is 2x, and 18 divided by 6 is 3. Now, what would happen if you just pulled out a 2? Well, you can pull out a 2, that's fine. However, when you're done, you'll notice that these two terms still have a greatest common factor of 3. So that means that this is not simplified, okay? Just like if I started with a fraction of 12 over 36, if I divided them both by 3, well, I'm allowed to do that, except that this isn't simplified, right? I would still have to divide by 4. So you just always want to make sure your final answer, whatever's left in the parentheses, has no common factor. Okie dokie. So let's get rid of some of this stuff. All right, and now the problems are going to get a little longer, but no problem. The next one, well, so this is a trinomial. This has 3 terms, right? If it has more than 3 terms, we just call it a polynomial. But we can divide each of these terms by a 3, but not only a 3, they all have at least one x in common. You have to make sure you pull out only the largest number of variables that they all have in common. Well, that means we can only pull out one x, because even though this has 5 and this has 3, we couldn't pull out 3 x's from this because there's only one there. So now 3, so it's just like we're dividing. Well, that is what we're doing. So 3x to the 5th divided by 3x. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and x to the 5th divided by x to the 1st. So remember, you subtract those exponents, you end up with x to the 4th. 9 divided by 3 is positive 3. X to the 3rd divided by x is x squared. And then 12x divided by 3x is 4. Make sure those numbers in the parentheses do not have any common factors, and they don't. So I think we're good. And then to double check our answer, we would want to use our distributive property. We get 3x to the 5th. 9x to the 3rd, and then 12x, which is what we started with. So we know we're right. All right, I'm just going to get rid of everything on my screen now. So let's keep going. All right, what about the next one? We can divide everything by 5x. So we get 5x squared minus 3x and then plus 2. You guys agree? Let me just double check it. Nope, I'm wrong. 5 divided by 5 is 1. So I was wrong. So just a quick glance at it when I was thinking of using the distributive property, let me know that I was not right. Because if I left that a 5 times 5 is 25, not 5. So always go back and look at it. So that would be 5x to the third minus 15x squared plus 10x. So that's correct. All right, what about this one? Let's pull out a 6 and this time 2 x's. So 6x to the fourth divided by 6x squared is x squared. And then negative 12 divided by 6 is negative 2. And there it would be nothing left because we pull out both of those. So look at it, make sure if I use the distributive property, I get what I started with, and I know I'm right. All right, let's look at these. So first we're going to find what is the greatest common factor as far as a number goes. And then one thing you always want to make sure is this leading coefficient, when it's written in standard form, this leading coefficient, you want it to be a positive number. So you're going to factor out a negative number to make this leading coefficient positive. So I'm going to pull out a negative 3. I'm going to pull out 2 x's, and everything has at least one y. So negative 6 divided by negative 3 is positive 2. Pulled out 2 of those 4 x's, and we pulled out the y. Negative 9 divided by negative 3 is positive 3. We would have left an x and one y. And then finally, 3 divided by negative 3 is negative 1. I'm just going to leave a negative for now. If we don't have a variable left, I would write a 1 there. But x squared divided by x squared is 1, and y to the third divided by y to the first is y squared. So if I use my distributive property, I'm going to go back and double check those. Okay, guys? Now this one, we can divide everything by 2. We can divide everything by x to the third, and we can divide everything by y. So the first one, we would have x squared left and y to the third. The second one, we'd have 3xy, and then we'd have minus 4. All right, hopefully you guys are trying these on your own at this point. Now it looks like this one, we don't have a common factor as far as a number, but we do have x squared y. So this would be 6xy to the third minus 5. Yep, I think that's right. And then the last one, once again, we want this leading coefficient to be a positive. So let's pull out a negative 4, x and y. So we would have an x left and 3 y's. Negative 3x y squared and plus 2. So if I use the distributive property, I would have negative x to the second, y to the fourth. I'd have positive 12x squared y to the third, and then I would have negative 8xy. Good. All right, so that's how you factor with the greatest common factor. All right, now we're going to start looking at polynomials that have 4 terms. When you have polynomials that have more than 3 terms, you know, you call it a monomial, binomial, trinomial, and then more than 3, you just say polynomial. So one thing you should always try is if you have 4 terms with polynomials is you want to group them into 2 sets of 2. So the first thing, always double check, look at all 4 terms and say, do these have any common factors? Well, they don't. I can't divide all of these by the same number. 3 won't go into 28, 7 won't go into 12, so on and so forth. So I'm going to try factoring by grouping. So now just look at the first 2 terms and I say, oh, well, they both have they can both be divided by 7 and x squared. So that's what I'm going to divide by. 7x squared. Well, 7x to the third divided by 7x squared is x. Negative 28 divided by 7 is negative 4. And then x squared divided by x squared is 1. Now this one, we're going to divide both of those by 3. Now I'm not just going to write a 3 because that would be showing multiplication. So I'm going to write plus 3 because I'm pulling out a positive 3. And then I would have x minus 4. Now, what will most often happen is whatever's in these parentheses are going to match exactly. And you notice that these do match exactly. Oh, sorry about that. All right, so that means, since these match, that means that this whole thing has common factors. It means one of the common factors is x minus 4. And to get the other set of parentheses, you're going to put together what's outside the parentheses. 7x squared plus 3. And then stick those together like that. And that's our answer. Now, we always want to check our answers, right? Well, the way we check two binomials being multiplied is we FOIL it, right? The first two, outside 2, inside 2, last 2. So 7x squared times x is 7x to the third. We're going to do these two. That would be minus 28x squared. These two would be plus 3x. And then the last two, 3 times 12, I'm sorry, 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. So take a look at what we started with. And do you notice these match exactly, which means that this is the correct answer. Double check those parentheses, make sure those parentheses don't have any common factors, and we're good. All right, I'm going to erase this. Hope you guys got that. All right, let's go to the next one. First thing we're going to do is look at all 4 terms. Can I divide all 4 terms by the same factor? I cannot. So I'm going to group these. So these have in common 2x squared. So 4x to the third divided by 2x squared is x. And negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. And that's all that's left. So I have to put the negative 1 because I don't have any variables or anything else to write. So x minus 1. And then this one, I'm going to pull out a positive 3, right? So 6x divided by 3 is 2x. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. 4x to the third divided by 2x squared is 2x, sorry. So I noticed that because usually what you want to happen is you want your parentheses to match. So I caught my mistake right there. But anyway, 6x divided by 3 is 2x, and negative 3 divided by 3 is negative 1. So now our parentheses match. So one of our factors is 2x minus 1, and then we put the other numbers together that's outside the parentheses. And there's our final answer. And then to double check it, I would FOIL it, and I would find that I have what I started with. Okay, so be careful. It's easy to make a mistake, but then if you go back and check it and you know what you're looking for, it should be easy to catch those mistakes like I just did. All right, we're going to check all 4 terms. Do all 4 have anything in common? Nope. So we're going to group these. So we're going to divide both of them by 5y squared. 5y squared is our greatest common factor of the first 2 terms. So that leaves a y. And then this would be plus 2. All right, now I do want my parentheses to match if possible, right? That's what I'm trying to do. So think about this. I have 2 negative terms and I want them to end up with only positives in the exponent or in the parentheses, right? So that helps me remember I want to factor out a negative number. Well, negative 4y divided by negative 4 is positive y, and negative 8 divided by negative 4 is positive 2. Now, if I factored out a positive 4, these parentheses wouldn't have matched. So make sure you always pull out a negative when you need to, okay? All right, so we're going to put together what's outside the parentheses, and the other factor is what's in the parentheses. Now, if I had just written this in opposite order, if I had written here y plus 2, and then this one was 5y squared minus 4, it would not matter. These don't have to be in any particular order, okay? All right, so first thing I'm doing is checking all 4 terms. I noticed that they don't have anything in common, all 4 of the terms. So I'm going to group them. So I'm going to pull out a 3x to the third here. That would leave me x minus 2x. Nope. Just kidding. That should be a 3. We're pulling out a 3x to the third. I think I said that, but I wrote a 2. Hold on. Back up, back up. All right, 3x to the third. So that would be 3x minus 2. And then I want to pull out a -4 right here. -4. So I have -12 divided by -4 is positive 3x. And 8 divided by -4 is -2. So my final answer is, I'm going to put 3x minus 2 together. And what's outside of the parentheses, 3x cubed minus 4. So that's my final answer. Always double check those parentheses and say, do these have any common factors? And they do not. All right, I'm going to erase all this stuff. And let's change colors. I'm tired of red for a minute. Now, so we're going to look at all 4 terms. Now, this time we do have something that they all have in common, right? 2, can we go higher than 2? No, 2 is the greatest common factor of all of them. So let's pull out a 2 first from every term. So then I have 14x to the third plus 7x squared plus 6x plus 3. Now check your terms. Do all 4 of them have anything in common? No, they do not. So I'm still going to continue forward because I still want to make these even more simplified. So I'm ignoring that 2 for a few minutes, and I'm now going to factor these 4 terms. I'm ignoring this 2 for just a few minutes. I'll have to bring it back as part of my final answer, but for now I'm ignoring it. So what could I divide these first 2 terms by? I could divide them both by 7x to the second power, and I got 2x plus 1. And then here I could pull out a positive 3, and I have 2x plus 1. So what is my final answer? So I'm going to write down here, and then I'll erase it. My final answer is 7x squared plus 3. And then the other parentheses is what matches. But then remember when we were ignoring this for a minute, it must be included in the final answer. If you don't bring that 2 down as your final as part of your final answer, you have missed the problem. So be careful. Okay, so that's the final answer for the top one. And now I'm going to erase all this so we can keep our problems separate. All right, first thing we do is look at all 4 terms. Do all 4 terms have anything in common? Yes, they all have a 3 in common. This has an A only, this has a B only. So we can't pull out an A and B out of all of them, but we can pull out a 3. So that's the first thing we're going to do. So 2a cubed minus 3a squared b plus 2ab squared minus 3b cubed. Now, I'm going to ignore our 3 for a minute. We'll do green. And now we're going to group these. So, do these have any common factors? Yep, a squared. So we have 2a minus 3b. And then here we can pull out a b squared, right? B squared, and that's a positive b squared. So we have 2a minus 3b. So our final answer is a squared plus b squared times 2a minus 3b, but then you cannot forget that 3 we pulled out. Okay? Because if we didn't pull out that 3 to start with, when we started factoring this way, we would have things in the parentheses with common factors still. So go ahead and pull it out to begin with and get that part over with. All righty, the next one, look at all 4 terms. Everything up here is divisible by 4. So let's do that first. So 2b cubed plus 2ab squared minus a minus b. Got it? Now we're going to ignore that 4 for a minute. And then we're going to divide these into groups. I can pull out a 2b squared. All right, so that would leave me with b plus a. And then here, these are both negative terms. I'm going to pull out a -1, and that would make them both positive. Now, do my parentheses match? Yep, they're both positive a plus b, or b plus a. I could rewrite this because the commutative property tells me I can put the addition problems in different orders. I get the same answer. So my final answer is a plus b times 2b squared minus 1, and then don't forget that 4 we started with. That is my final answer. All right, I hope you guys are trying the last 2 on your own. All right, what'd you get? Oh, that one looks confusing, but it's actually the easiest one. Did this one trick you guys? Well, look, don't the parentheses already match? So one of the factors is x plus 2. So guess what the other factor is? Well, it's everything else, 3x plus 4. Did that trick you? Tell me the truth. Did it trick you? And then the last one, they don't have any common factors. All 4 terms don't. So we're going to do our 2 groups of 2. We can pull out a c from the first one. So we have 2b plus 7x. And then you might think, well, these don't have any common factors, but technically everything does. The common factor of everything is 1, isn't it? So even if you aren't really technically dividing it and changing the numbers, you still have to write the plus 1, because after we see that our parentheses match, to get that other set of parentheses, remember, you put together what's left, and that plus 1 is part of the answer. So the final answer is c plus 1 times 2b plus 7x. That's officially the correct answer, because if you FOIL this now, it would equal this. If you only wrote down a c and you FOILed it, it would not, or you use distributive property, it would not equal that. Okay, so you gotta be careful. All right, you guys. So like I said, once some of you get the hang of that, I think you're gonna enjoy factoring. So let me know, and I'll put the information about our meeting on Friday. So please join me. I hadn't seen or talked to you guys in a long time, and I miss you. So y'all have a great week, and I will see you hopefully on Friday.